Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
Thanks, Katie. And we're going to tell you why. Matt Pickett here, joined by my guest host, Katie Sunderman, for a second week in a row. Appreciate you filling in for Dawn here, Katie. It means a lot to both of us. And we're joined with our special guest. I can't talk tonight, guys. It's going to be a great podcast. Joined by our special guest, Dusty Evely. Welcome in, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a while since you've had me on. You know, sad that Dawn was finally eaten by her cats. We knew it was coming.
It was inevitable.
But I'm happy to be here talking to both of you guys. It's gonna be awesome.
Yay! And Katie, how's your week going? What's happening with you?
It's been great. Kids are home from school. Kind of talked about that last week, but we've been at the pool 4 out of the 5 days this week. It's been amazing.
That's how you keep your sanity. Totally. Dusty, what do you have going on for your kids in the summer here?
Oh man. So my kids do not like going outside. We have a very hard time getting outside. We got a pretty good yard, but they don't like going outside. We got a park right next door. They don't like going outside. We actually bought, I say park, it's a flood runoff. It's a drainage runoff is what it is. This is a big flat area. But we bought a swing set, big metal swing set that we put together a couple weeks ago. My kids have been out 3 weeks now out of school. They got out fairly early. And we've been pretty much every day. We've been out on the swing set. Today we were out in the front yard. They had the hose out and spraying each other and all kinds of stuff. So we haven't done a whole lot. We're still trying to, got maybe a couple little small vacation things going on. But for the most part, it's just try to get outside as much as humanly possible. And thank God the swing set is getting them something to look forward to get outside. And once we're out there, we stay out there. So it's been good.
Nice. Well, this week was sort of like a week between school ending and the summer camp starting for my kids, but they'll be at like the rec center that's in our neighborhood that has a pool. So like swimming every day. So I think it's just an important part. Getting some kind of water exposure in the summer as a kid, I think is so important. So really excited about that. But quick story from this week for me is that a friend of mine from college who played tuba in my wife and my wedding contacted me on Monday saying he was in town at the conservatory at UC is like, it's a pretty famous one, CCM. And so he's there doing a thing, and he actually plays tuba with the Navy's top band, or the Marines top band in the entire country. It's called the President's Own. They like play at the White House like every week, several times. Like this is like he's up there, man. But yeah, we got to have him over last night, and like, I haven't seen him since our wedding. So like, it's been a while, but just to reconnect and kind of hear like what it's like to play for the presidents. And he's been doing that gig since the end of the Obama administration. So like, it was crazy, like professional musician, man. Very, very cool stuff. So it's been a heck of a week for me because of that, and having the kids at home and stuff like that. It's been just a lot happening. So I'm good though.
That's awesome.
I don't have a tuba story, Matt. I don't know any tuba players personally, but we did. She just connects to UC. Me and my wife years ago went to go see the Roots up at University of Cincinnati.
Nice.
And they tour with a tuba player, and it was the coolest thing ever. It's like, I didn't know the tuba could look that cool. It was their show was insane. Anyway, it's like a review of like the past 30 years of music. Basically, they like run through a bunch of hits, and that tuba dude, nonstop for like 2 hours. I don't know how he didn't get tired. It was just insane.
Yeah, Tuba Gooding Jr. is what he goes by, actually.
Is that what he goes by?
Oh my God.
I did not know what it's going by. That's awesome.
We actually saw them. So my wife went to Yale to get her doctorate in music history. She's extremely smart. And so when we were out there, the Roots actually played a show like on campus at one time, but it was like out in a quad. So open air. It had rained the night before. It was like just packed with drunk undergrads, like with just open beer cups and just everywhere, just beer sloshing everywhere. It was fantastic. It was amazing.
Tremendous show. Show.
So speaking of the week, lots of stuff happened this week for the Packers, more than you think there would be. Let's see. We had a kind of I don't know. I want to talk about this article. Actually, I just want to get into it with the article that Matt Schneidman wrote, which I'm just as a spoiler alert is one of my superlatives. I'm kind of like cracking that one early, but in this article, it was kind of like Aaron Rodgers called Matt Schneidman back and kind of gave his side of the story of how things went down, and it was a really interesting read. But I'm curious what you both thought of it. I'm assuming you both read it at some point this week, right? What'd you think? What did you think? What was your impression?
This was the first time I had an athletic subscription. So I'm like, this I gotta read because I felt like it was important. The fact that he called Matt back was kind of impressive. I'll give you that. But he sounded just bitter. Rodgers just sounded so bitter about the whole thing. And like outside of the Packers, like fans, people are like, why do you want to move on from him so bad? Like, how can you be excited he's gone? Blah, blah, blah. And after that article, I'm just like, I'm not even sad that he's gone because he just seemed he wanted to be done the second that Love got drafted. And like, I don't know, he just sounded just bitter and so much what's the word that I can't think of right now? Where like you say one thing and it's the opposite thing.
Like contradictory. You contradict.
Thank you. Contradictions. There were so many contradictions to his stories, and it's just like you really think people are still gonna believe what you're saying? And I think people do still believe him, and they're still eating out of his hand. But I am not one of those.
Me neither. What do you think, Dusty?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. It made me laugh. It was like the back to back. Like, listen, he texted me more than I texted him, and you know I value communication, but also I don't talk to people I don't like. And like, all I can think of every time something like that happens, all I can think of is the Charlie Murphy, the Chappelle Show skit with the I wasn't grinding my feet into his couch. So anyway, I'm grinding my feet into his couch. That's all I can think of, and that's like I'm sure
cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, that was the Rick James one. That's right, it was the Rick James one. So it's one of those where like the truth I know is somewhere between. I know Rodgers is not 100% in the wrong. I know the Packers are not 100% in the wrong. Neither is 100% in the right. They all kind of say things to make us feel better. And I thought the article was good. And I'm a big fan of Schneidman, just his reporting, the way he does his job, the way he carries himself, the humor that he has about kind of everything he does. I've always been a big fan of him since he's been, I think this is third year, I think now that he's been on the beat, maybe third or fourth year now. Yeah. I think he does such a good job. And the fact that Rodgers called him back, well, that shows a level of trust. That's cool. I love that. But also this is not a knock on Schneidman at all. I think the fact that Rodgers called him back really smacks of, I can't let someone else have the last word on this. It was just, I need to say my piece. And like, I'm sure some of the stuff is true. I refused to the whole, like, he texted me and I didn't get back to him 72 hours and he was gone. Like, there's no way that's true. I refuse to believe that part is true. There's been so many contradictory statements through all of this, through him on McAfee, from what he told Scheinman, from all of this, that he wants to do. And that's fine. I don't care. He wants to do whatever makes him look good, whatever makes him look blameless. And the Packers are the same way. Gutekunst is the exact same way. I just, at this point, I want this thing to die. I want someone to ask Gutekunst about it and him like, I'm done talking about that. We're not doing this anymore. Because all that's happening now, it's sniping back and forth. And Rodgers wants the last word. And if someone can just please God break the cycle and say like, that's fine. They say what they said. I'm done thinking about this. My energy's elsewhere. That's all I want at this point. Because it was fascinating. I enjoyed reading it, but it was just like, I hope this is the last time I have to think about this at this point.
Yeah. Like I thought we were past it. I thought it was like, okay, he's in New York. You know, we're moving on with Jordan Love. We've got these amazing pictures of the team, you know, at the lake, and then they're racing Simone Biles, and it's incredible. And then like this comes out, and it's like again, like you're saying, Matt Schneidman, incredible writer. I'm really glad he wrote this. I'm glad we got to see this, but it definitely came off as like, you know, Rodgers being really defensive and kind of petty about it. And it's like, you don't need to, man. Like, we're past it. If you feel like you need to save some face, like, for who? Like, who cares? Because the thing that I said when I like quote tweeted the article was like, this is just going to reinforce like either side's narratives about the whole situation. And for me, like, you know, I love Aaron Rodgers, always love and respect him, you know, as a player, kind of soured on him as some of his stuff in the media, of course, you know, like I think many Packers fans did, but this didn't make me like miss him anymore, you know. Like I was like, no, this is good. Yeah, glad we're done with this. said before on the show, glad we'll never have to watch Pat McAfee again. So and for those who are into that, man, cool, but not for me.
I said when I saw the tweet of like the Schneidman's article, someone retweeted the Schneidman thing, and Aaron Rodgers called Schneidman. That's what he had to say. I didn't check the date. I was like, is this from 3 months ago?
Right.
Like, what is this now? Why is this now? Why are we doing this again?
Yeah.
But yeah, all the respect to Matt. I mean, again, he must have built up a nice reputation, a nice relationship with Rodgers for Rodgers to actually call him back. How Aaron Rodgers was able to get a call off, I don't know. How did he call with his phone, Matt? I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering. That's the smoking phone is what it is. Like he actually did a phone call, not a FaceTime. So that is a weird thing, right? Because when he made that comment about FaceTime in the press conference with the Jets, I wasn't sure if he was kidding, and he said it kind of like with a half smile. So I thought like he's just being kind of a weirdo, whatever. But he really doubled down in that in the interview.
MVS is actually like multiple people have said like, no, that's true. Like I know I have to FaceTime him. But also Gutekunst was texting back and forth with him because you can do that by Wi-Fi. So like they were still even, and this is another thing with Rodgers, and I can stop talking because I talk way too much. The thing that he will always do is he will harp on these things. He's very good with his words. He's very deliberate with his wording, and the whole like can't call, you have to FaceTime me. But like, okay, they were still texting. There's still open lines of communications. There are ways to communicate them. If you want to buy the fact that you cannot call him in his house, you can, it's insane. Like there are ways to get a hold of him, and he's obviously like he is texting Gutekunst back. Apparently not a whole lot because he hates Gutekunst's guts. Yeah, basically, like from what he said, I don't talk to people I don't want to talk to, but I value communication. Like you can communicate with him. You don't have to. Maybe the calling doesn't work, which I still refuse to believe. The calling doesn't work. You can still communicate with him, and he was communicating with you until he felt like not communicating with you anymore. But now it's on you for not FaceTiming him. Like it's absolving of blame. And yeah, it's one of those things. I don't really have any ill will towards the man. I'm happy for what he gave us in Green Bay. I'm done with whatever. Like it feels like middle school drama at this point. Yeah. It's so weird, dude.
Yeah.
That's almost exactly what on the Football GMs podcast, which is one of the ones on the Athletic Football podcast feed with Mike Sando and Randy Mueller. I was listening to that like while I was making dinner tonight, and they were saying it sounds like middle school drama is what it sounds like. And he just comes across as sounding really childish, and I like that. Like Randy Mueller, for those who have heard the podcast, if you haven't, you should check it out. They're really great. But Randy Mueller is so like he's like folksy and just sort of like oh gosh and oh gee, kind of he's that kind of dude. And so for him to be like, it's just really childish. It's just like some middle school stuff. It's like, whoa, he's like he's not pulling any punches here for Randy Mueller. My goodness.
I didn't listen to this week, but he does not like Aaron Rodgers. Anytime Aaron Rodgers' name is mentioned anymore, he just goes, like this sigh before he responds.
That's really true because like Mike Sando started to talk about the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and you could hear him sigh like on the recording actually. So that's exactly it.
That's awesome.
Was there anything in this article that surprised you or that was new?
That's a good question.
I don't know. For me, again, it was the stuff like he was texting. Like he confirmed that like Gutekunst reached out to him while he was out there, and so like there was like that, and that's kind of a contradictory thing where he was like, "You can't get a hold of me on my phone," but then he was like, he confirmed he did text him. They did try to get together out there, but like for the most part, I don't know that there was anything that was like a huge revelation. I don't think.
What did you guys think? Sorry, about the line where he wanted Goot fired or he was leaving.
That's what I was going to say. That was the thing. I think that was sort of the bombshell for me reading it. Yeah, I mean, that seems really bold. I don't know. I mean, I know that obviously he has become the franchise or had become the franchise, I suppose I should say. But man, can you imagine the nerve to say something like that?
Yeah.
Wasn't there?
Well, I mean, he did it, Matt. He had his agent do it.
Well, yes. Yeah.
He didn't do it.
He's a good guy.
He didn't say
he would not confirm that, and then his agent has not answered the phone. So who knows? But that's been who did Russell Wilson did something like that? Didn't he hate John Schneider? Wasn't there a Schneider thing with that or something?
And Pete Carroll, yeah.
Was it Pete Carroll too?
It was both of them, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's, I don't know, especially like that late on, like you're 39, 37, whatever, and you're like, fire the GM. Like, how much longer are you going to be here at this point? Like, why would we do if we like the GM? If you don't like the GM, it's a really easy way to placate your talent, I guess. But if you like your GM, like, why would I do that?
Was Rogers in on the hiring of LaFleur? Like, did he have a say or anything?
I'm gonna say
I don't
Do you guys
know.
remember?
based on the love pick and him being mad about the communication,
No, prior to
I'm
that.
gonna assume he had very little say. I'm gonna say he had no say in the
Okay.
LaFleur hire. I don't think he did.
Okay. Because I just saw that like Giannis got a say in the Bucks hire of their
Mhm.
head coach. And I'm like, we kind of went down that path as Packers. Do we really want to do we really want your star to become the GM again? And I didn't know if you guys had thoughts on that.
I mean, I know what
Way
you're
off
saying.
topic.
I guess I feel like I trust Giannis to be like an actual good person. So
Yeah.
like I feel like I would give him more like latitude for that kind of a thing personally.
Yeah,
Okay.
some of it for
That's
me, I
cool.
don't trust. I don't trust what a player wants out of a coach. Like
Hmm.
Rogers really likes Hackett, and he's mentioned that multiple times. I like Hackett for what
Yeah.
it's worth, but like Hackett was not good in his one stint as a play caller last year, and there's a lot of factors against that. But like, do you trust your quarterback? Do you trust the guy? Like, I want this guy. Is that because that guy makes it easy for you? Like, now to be fair, he did have a big hand in the Clements hire, and apparently that's been very good for Jordan Love. So maybe he is a
Sure.
very good judge of that. But I don't know that I trust the talent to pick the coaching. That feels like that could be just a way to kind of get around some things you don't want to do.
Hmm.
True.
That's a really good
Very
point.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
So hey, we kind of launched this whole discussion about the article that Matt Steinman wrote. Kind of skipping right past, for those who don't know you, Dusty, we should
Hi.
let the folks in on that.
Hi.
And I mean, I'd be surprised if anybody's listening who doesn't actually know who you are. But we just need to make sure to cover our bases here. So, Dusty, what are some of the like things you do? Why do we know you? Just tell us a bit about who's Dusty.
I'm on the internet.
There
I'm
you go.
Dusty from the internet. I'm a Pack a Day podcast with the Wednesday crew with Steve and Sarah. Anymore we're leapfrogging each other since we came back from the draft a little bit. So
Mhm.
it's usually Steve or Sarah at this point. Hopefully all back next week. But been doing that for I don't know 3 years now, I guess, with them. I've been writing about Packers football for 10, 9, 10 years at this point. I don't know. So I write for Cheesehead TV, weekly thing up over there during the year and then sporadic during the summer, but I've got series going up over there. And then also Packer Report right over Packer Report. And then I've got a Substack that every now and then I'll word vomit some stuff up over there. So I'm kind of a little bit of everywhere, but main writing places, Cheesehead TV and Packer Report during the season every week. And then just kind of whenever I kind of have something I feel like writing about during the summer, I'll just kind of pop up and do something. But yeah, write about Packers and the offensive side of the ball more often than not, I guess. That's more or less me, I suppose. Is that good?
Yeah,
Did I do a good job, Matt?
that's a good summation, I'd say for sure.
Okay.
And I would add that just personally, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that I've learned a lot more about offensive scheme and just how that all works from reading the stuff that you've done, watching the videos you've done. So, first of all, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff you have, released, put onto the world more recently.
Sure.
There was the huge project you've been doing with the Packers playbook, right? With the play calling sheets and stuff. I just want to get you to talk about that a little bit, and also like what are some of the big takeaways, because you've sifted through a lot of data, you've done a lot of like analysis. What have been your takeaways from that?
As with everything, the numbers don't tell you everything. So what I do during the season, the vast majority of what I do during the season, week to week, my week to week during the season is just I kill myself to try to make my life easier in the summer. And so I kind of tag every single offensive concept in there with down, distance, personnel, concept, all of that stuff. So I do all that stuff during the season. Then I've got all that stuff in a spreadsheet, then another program I use that I tag the video with. And so what I'm doing now is my process for it, if anyone actually cares about my process for it, is I've got Matt's the only person that cares about this. I've got
immensely.
I've got Excel spreadsheet. Actually, it's actually a Google sheet with entire Packers 2022 offensive play-by-play stuff in there that I've tagged throughout the year, and I've got all that with concept. And so then I started breaking that down into the different buckets that you do in a call sheet: first and 10, second long, second medium, second short, blah 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 blah. And so you kind of see, okay, where are they in terms of how many plays? Because the entire idea behind this, part of it was I need to write something during the summer. Well, and what I like to do is a review, because what I do during the week is a week to week. This concept was cool. I like this concept. This was fun. This was cool. This worked because this. But the offseason gives a more holistic approach to that. And so I'm able to kind of look at that. Okay, how many times did they have first and 10? And then what worked, what didn't? And then so I've got what the numbers say. So I've got was this past week was 3rd and short, and it was four plays on 3rd and short. Part of that for me level sets it a little bit because I'm saying, 3rd and short, they've got 10 of those plays a week. Well, no, they don't. It's kind of I kind of get a sense of how the offense runs rhythmically throughout like the different times they face these situations, because these always seem like these big 3rd and short always seems like such a big down, but it's really only 4 times a game. And so that's interesting for me, if nothing else. But then I'm looking and going, what worked, what didn't? Well, a whole lot didn't work. And then even some of it that did work, you're like, oh, well, this concept, even the stuff that did work, this was really cool. They ran this 3 times during the year, and 2 of them didn't really work that well. And so part of this process for me has been, I'm looking through this and I'm going, on paper, on the spreadsheet, this concept worked really, really well on like second medium. Mm-hmm. And then I pull up the film for it, because I've got this program, and I say, like, I want to see all the second medium passes of this concept or whatever. I just kind of run through them, and like half of them were terrible. It was a success because like there's one of them I really want to not be able to do it. I really wanted to put the mesh concept in one of these, mm-hmm. and it was successful on the 3rd and short. It was this past one, and I was like, cool. All right, I get to talk about mesh. I'm gonna put this in there. Well, it only worked because the play broke down, and then he had to scramble. Well, that's not successful. Like mm-hmm. you're looking at like it is, but it's not. Like I'm looking for something that this worked because it was drawn up to work, and it worked because you're playing off of this. It's boring to write about something like, this play was garbage, but it worked because the quarterback ran around and someone came free and the defense busted. Like that's not interesting or fun, and that's not repeatable. And so for me, I think as far as the lessons learned for me, it's how did this one specific thing, these concepts work throughout the entire year, as opposed to like one-off weeks. Like just seeing kind of the overall picture is really interesting. But then also like this, when something worked, how did it work? Because sometimes it's just, that seems like that would work. And so if you draw it up on paper and you're pulling up the spreadsheet, which I've got that section put in there. All right, man, this mm-hmm. is going to work on 3rd and short. And then I watch it and go, well, I can't include this, because I'm trying to do it from the perspective of, if I'm putting it in there, if you're building for the next week's opponent, and we're saying this is a 3rd and short one. Well, I'm not adding in a 3rd and short thing that only worked because the defense busted. Like that's right. That's not repeatable. I'm not doing that. And so it's been interesting from that regard, for sure, in terms of, this seems like it worked, but then you watch it and go, it didn't. Crap. Now what do I do? Now do I got to find it? And then I'm also trying to balance like what I like, which is the passing game, versus what actually worked, which is like the running and RPO game. In some instances, like I can't just dial up like 65 passes. That doesn't make sense either. So I'm trying to get myself in the mind frame a little bit more of how you actually have to look at some of this stuff. So it's been every year I try to do a review of the season, and this was a interesting way to do that, I think, for me, just to kind of to break down those situations a little bit more. That's probably way too long. And again, Matt, no one cares. No one cared.
No, I care immensely. I do. And it was not too long. Every time on like, the Wednesday pack a day, you're like, oh, I talked for a long time. It's never too long. I want you to know that right now, man. Like, never too long.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you had that total football question this week, which was awesome.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Katie.
Oh, I was going to say, on your 3rd and short, how many times are you screaming at the TV, run the damn ball?
So that's another thing I've been working on this off season. I've been trying to, I'm calling it fact or fiction over on Pack Report. I only got 2 of them out so far because one of them got eaten, and then I got discouraged and I stopped writing about stuff. But now I'm back. So I did look at 3rd and short, because that was the thing is because I've got in my mind, I don't like to be a contrarian necessarily, but there's also, I watch entirely too much football to the point where someone's like my first one was, does Aaron Rodgers throw the middle of the field? My gut feeling is, I mean, I've seen him do it. I know he does. And people say, well, he doesn't. I'm like, well, I know he does, but I want to know what he does throughout for the rest. And it turns out, boy, he was like, of qualifying quarterbacks in the past 4 years, he was like 65th out of 67 as far as targeting the middle of the field. So no, he doesn't. And this past one was, how much does he throw deep on 3rd and short? Are they successful? I mean, because on its face, I like the idea of it. I like taking the matchup. You generate explosives where you can. Like, I don't hate the idea, but they've been bad at it. And they were like, I think 4th in the league in the past 4 years at taking shots at 3rd and short, but like 16th at converting. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I think the 3rd and short was, I think I had 1 pass, 1 RPO, and 2 runs. So yeah, I'm just move the ball forward at this point. Please just move the ball forward.
You made a quick passing reference there, Dusty, to the question that I submitted for the for your podcast this week about the total football concept, and if that is something that we've seen from soccer into football. And I really appreciated your answer about how we see it more in the defensive scheme and the way how like safeties can rotate out and stuff like that. And that I appreciate that because it made me kind of think about how the defense is structured and kind of that different context of what that looks like in soccer with that kind of concept. So again, thank you for that. That was cool. And I just, do you think it could work for the offense though, to have a situation where people like shift position, shift responsibilities in a way that can make an offense more amorphous and more, what's the word, like versatile? Do you think there's a way that that could work? Or is it just like the roles are too defined? What do you think?
Yeah, I think some of the rules are too strict, right? I mean, like you see it sometimes with college, but not even that necessarily. Like with sometimes you'll get like a 3-man line and then bunches on either side with like offensive linemen out in front. So you could kind of screen to either side, but the way you've got the offensive linemen set up, one of them could potentially go out for a pass. It gets a little weird because you're running out there quick, but like even that's like you're still playing within the bounds of, because you still have to have whatever 5 offensive linemen, 7 men on the line. Like there are certain, you can only have movement, 1 man moving horizontally at the snap of the ball. Even something like CFL where you can be moving forward at the snap of the ball. Like it's still, everything else has to be relatively static at that point. So, I mean, I think I mentioned, what the Niners kind of their personnel group, or even something like, that's what the Falcons are kind of building. We're just lots of big dudes who you can move around a lot on that offense. Like you could see that, but that's almost like positional versatility. That's like, well, you can have Christian McCaffrey line up on the outside and Deebo Samuel in the slot and George Kittle as fullback. Like you can do that. But that to me, like the spirit of total football is like, you'd almost have to, I think Matub mentioned something where like he was kind of joking and said it'd be like lateral heavy hook and lateral offense. Like it would basically, it would have to be totally post snap, right? Like you wouldn't be able to do a lot of pre snap. It have to be a ton of chaotic movement post snap. I don't think it get a bunch of skill position players to play offensive line, like maybe that, and then you can you move those guys around, you get more speed out there, which then like really doesn't work if you get the guys out there. I mean, I thought about it for a while.
Yeah.
That was like an hour before the podcast. I was like, I was hanging out with my wife on the deck and I was like, I gotta go inside. I gotta do some research. I gotta think about to see if this is possible. And I drew some stuff up and I was like, I think the spirit of total football, I don't think it can, but like defense, I think you can. Defense, I think you can make a really good case for, but offense, I don't know. I think it's too static and it's so the positions are too well defined. I don't think you can make a way to make it work. I might be wrong. I was not able to do it, Matt.
Well, that's such a good point about like there are such rules around it. Like you can't have an ineligible man downfield, like there are like boundaries in which you cannot move. And if you tried to put a bunch of skill players for the O-line, like they would just get like destroyed by the rushers. Like they wouldn't be able to hold anybody back. It'd be,
well, I think I mentioned, if you've ever done it, if you go back and watch, like there's old like stuff from like the 40s and 50s, like single wing, triple option stuff where you've got like the old like split T stuff where it's the quarterback, like basically in shotgun, and you got like 2 guys on either side and everyone else is up on the line and the ball snapped and you got like 3 guys in motion and the quarterback's faking one way and spinning back another way and hitting it off and you got pulling guard in front of you and you're going through there, but you're winging another guy. Like a lot of that's like the single wing stuff is super interesting to watch. Like it's really, really cool. It's almost sleight of hand misdirection. I think that's about as close as you can get to it, where the quarterback is like this. That's your Jamie Tart, right? That's your you're playing through him like he's the facilitator and he's got all this chaos around him and you're making the best decision based on what you're seeing. I think that's about as close as you can get if you're in that kind of like run heavy, because you're right, pass game you can't, because you start moving those guys down and you're an eligible man downfield. It has to be quick pitches behind the line of scrimmage, misdirection there. I think that's the only way you can do it, and even that feels like a bit of a stretch. But if this inspires anyone to watch like 50s split T single wing stuff, there's some fun stuff there, dude. Like some of those old Giants team black and white stuff, there's some really fun stuff there.
All the offense running through the quarterback.
That's right. It's so much fun.
That's what he says. Katie, do you have any questions before I go to my next question for Dusty here? All right, I'll jump to the next one then. So going back to the call sheet series you were doing, Dusty, part of what impresses me about it is that like in order for you to grapple with these concepts, you of course have had to spend all this time, learning the different concepts, being able to sniff them out and identify them and stuff like that. So like, I think it's cool that you like have that base of knowledge that you can then use to, actually analyze what the plays are, see what the call sheet has been. So given like how much you've already learned about football and passing concepts and offensive scheme and structure, and of course knowing that we're all learning all the time, how do you think doing this will inform the way you like watch football for the coming season?
It's tough during a game, partially because I'm always battling against that. Like, I just want to watch a game, dude. Like the part of me that wants to dig in, that part of me is after. The part of me that wants to like eat wings and drink beer with my friends, that part of me is present on Sunday. So there's times I'll do it. I mean, there's I think it was Ted Nguyen for The Athletic wrote an article a while ago that I always kind of retweet, usually before the start of the season. That's like, I don't know, how to watch football from your couch or something. And in there, he quotes Chris Brown, who is like the football writer who got me basically into like, oh, there's more to football than like man smash man type of thing. And he said the way that he watches it with the camera angles is everything is, he says, watch the grass, because usually like you're watching movement, you're seeing like where on your screen do you see is there green that you can see the offense attacking, whether that's uncovered slot guy or linebackers spread, and you're like, well, they can attack the slant there. And then you're kind of, a lot of times I will play that game where like you try to guess based on the alignment, based on the movement, based on where those guys, based on what I can see, where are they going to attack? And he's like, more often than not, that's usually where they try to attack. But then you also see how the defense is trying to cover that up. Well, they're dropping the D end off the line. He's dropping back into that spot. And so they've covered it up. And so during the week, like or during the game, that's kind of what I'm looking for more often than not. If I'm not just like, again, we're usually halfway through the game, I scrap that because I don't really care. And I'm watching the game. I'm here to have fun. But yeah, I mean, with some of that some of that is middle of the field stuff that I'm going to be looking for, which you can tell, some of that you can tell from the broadcast. You're looking at where does it look like they're going to attack, where are the linebackers playing? Does it change how the linebackers are playing? Are they playing up? Are they playing back? Because if you think you're attacking more middle of the field, if I'm thinking that, defenses are also thinking that. So are they going to change how they play? What's the depth of those linebackers? Kind of checking that ahead of time. And some of that movement, some of that motion pre-snap. I mean, that's some of the stuff I know I'm going to keep an eye on, especially early in the season, as they kind of feel stuff out. I think especially those first 4 games, that's going to be the big thing, is watching how much are they under center, how much motion is there, how much play action is there? Because I assume like even they upped their play action. But even then, they were middle of the league with Rodgers. Typically, Rodgers did not like play action, specifically under center. Rodgers did not like play action front center. And also the RPO game. The RPO game is a big one for me because that was so horizontal. It was all based on what Rodgers liked to do, that I don't know how that changes with Love, because it's also kind of what he ran in college. But some of that stuff, well, how are they reading? Are they reading some of that stuff post snap? So, I mean, again, some of that, it's tricky because it's kind of something I kind of get into after the game when I try to turn off fan brain and turn on whatever else brain that I have. But that is stuff early in the season specifically, is because I keep saying, people are asking me like, how's the Packers offense going to change? My answer has been, I think it's about 80% the same. I don't think it's going to change that much. So some of that's going to be, is that right? It's less about alignments. I think looking at it, it's less about alignments and more about what are they doing pre-snap and then where they're attacking post-snap is kind of really what I'll be paying attention to in between beers and wings, I think.
I think that's really comforting to me in a way that like when you're watching the game, you're just watching the game, you're just hanging out, like, because with too much knowledge can come, like a lack of enjoyment, in the moment. And so, because you're too busy analyzing it. So the fact that like, no, like you're just hanging and watching the game. Like
I used to take a notepad with me, honestly. I used to take a notepad to the bar and I'd write down like plays that I was interested in. Because what I used to do, I didn't used to just look at like one side of the ball. I used to like, is this play interesting? And so I take a notepad with me. Oh, that was cool. This was, Q1, roughly 11 minutes, 30 seconds. It was, 4th down, and this play looked cool. And so I'd take notes. And then eventually it was, whether I got wing sauce on it or whether because I got tired of doing it, I was like, this is not fun for me. Like if I pick up something, I pick up something. But yeah, I mean, I'm watching a game to watch a game, and then I will dig into it when I get the coach's film. But during the game, there's very little I care too much about, other than if the Packers are going to win. That's about where I'm at with it.
So I have a follow-up question for that. But before I get to it, I want to just acknowledge some of the folks joining us in the chat. Quick hello to Emma, who is joining us. Hopefully she's still around. And Bill Berquist, who is the guy who runs the Reddit Packers thing. So a lot of like interesting cross pollination there between platforms. Really appreciate the work he does there. And Iowa Joe is also here with us tonight. Hey, Joe, good to have you here, man.
Thanks, Joe.
And so my question for you, Dusty, then is, so having done this play call, or having worked through, because you're not quite done with it, right? With the play call series.
Yeah, I've got this next week is gonna be 4th and short, and then I've got like red zone and explosives. So yeah, I've got maybe 3 or 4 left. Then I'm done.
Yeah. So working through it, whatever I'm trying to say here, this process of working on it, won't affect how you watch the game when you're watching it initially. But then when you're looking at it, with analyst brain afterwards, do you feel like there's anything that's going to inform the way that you look at things? Will you be looking for certain tendencies? Will there be things that you'll kind of carry through to it? I mean, and I'm saying read the future for us, but like, how do you think that could affect things?
I mean, I think one of the big, that even just this past week that I came to the realization. So I've always, like, over the past, I think 3 off seasons, I've done some variation of this. I haven't done the play sheet thing, but it's just been, here's this concept and here's how many times they ran it, like on this down, here's what they were successful with, here's the overall concept. There's kind of like a high level of this specific concept. Here's how successful it was. And the big thing for me was like play action bootleg sale concept that they run so much. I mean, you see it in your sleep, that wide zone, play fake, and then you roll out and you hit usually that second level guy. Like in the past 2 years, they never ran that once on third down. Not a single time on third down. That was strictly first and second down. Well, then I think the Packers kind of themselves started they kind of killed it for themselves with the way they played it against the Rams. When they played the Rams in the playoffs, the way they kind of played that concept against the Rams, other teams started doing that against the Packers and against other teams. And so it killed that concept a little bit. And so this year they ran it on third down. 3 times on third and short. It was just their most successful one. I think they were a third and medium. They had a couple of really good ones as well, which third and short one specifically makes sense to me because that's based specifically off the wide zone blocking, and you're triggering those linebackers and you're throwing behind him. And so the reason that concept kind of got killed, there's a couple different reasons, not killed necessarily, neutered a bit, I guess, is that guys are blitzing the quarterback off the edge, or they're staying home because they're saying, I'm not going to commit this guy to the run game, because if I do and he's booting out the other side, I lose contained, and now they've got like a 20-yard gain. So I will simply give up 4 yards on the run. I'll lose backside contain off wide zone, and I'll stay home. That's one of them. So you stay in the quarterback's face. The other one was the linebackers were slower to trigger on that for the same reason. Why do I care about giving a 4 or 5 yard run game instead of like then they're throwing 20-yard over my head with this crosser over top of me? So linebackers are playing that differently. Well, so like on first and second down, effectiveness way down. But on third down now, when they look at third and short, you're looking for the run, they're quicker to trigger. And so there's like some of those shifts like that is like, I think just looking at it from this way, and then I haven't done in the past, is all right, that's a concept that never worked for them. They didn't even run it in this way before, and now it's effective. And so you start to see like, and some of that is some of the run game stuff as well. But I mean, that's just as using it as an analog, I guess, that concept specifically, because that's such a key to their offense, to see them like find ways to keep that effective. And then by keeping that effective, that keeps their wide zone run game effective, and you keep some of their counters to that effective as well. It's interesting to see like that shift and seeing, okay, the defense is now doing this, which means now we have to do this. So, I mean, and I think I see that now in a way with this, specifically with this series, that I haven't done in the past, just because I've only looked at the down and distance stuff in the background. It wasn't successful here, but I didn't really care. That was always an oddity to me. Like they never ran it on third down. Like I never cared why. I just knew they didn't. And so that you get these little shifts like that you kind of pick up throughout there. And again, some concepts I just root for so hard. I want to write about this one. Can this please be effective somewhere? Whether that's mesh or that all go halfback seam, like those have been terrible the past 2 years. I want them to be good so bad. I'm rooting for them, Matt. I'm rooting them for so hard, and they keep letting me down, which sucks.
I watch for mesh for you, in fact, just to see if they're going to do it like any given play. Like maybe this is the one, man. Maybe this is the one. They did it so little this last season.
Me and Tyler Herrick, man.
Yep.
Like the two waiting for it, and it's just not working, man.
So
what's the other one? The cheese wheel? Isn't that your other big one?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I was able to work that one in this year. They had I think that was a second down one they were successful with.
Okay.
That had not been good for them for years. But yeah, you're right, Katie. That is I love that concept. That made a mini comeback this year, which was fun.
So would you say then that it's accurate to make the statement that by digging into the minutia of the, like, each play, what was the call, you were able to find patterns that then led you to see like interesting conclusions, like the fact that they started using this concept on the third down as they hadn't before. Is that kind of like how that's like, built for you?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think the fact that seeing what's effective, I guess the way, I don't know, the way my mind works, I have a hard time like learning something until I see like, oh, okay, I see that, and you can make kind of connections a little bit. And so seeing this thing is not effective on second down, but it is effective on third down. Okay, well if I sit down and think about that, that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense unless I see it that way. So it has led to some. I think it's my goal through all of this, through any of this, is I don't care who reads any of this. Is this interesting to me? Is this something that's interesting to me? And this is something that it's helped me to, I think, view the game, view concepts, view how you see somebody's down and distances. Specifically these concepts, I'm like, well, that's some of those like that I'll go running back scene. That was always one for me that was, you can use that at any time. That's one that like no matter where or when you are, well, then like you look at this, like that's simply not true. And so seeing some of that it is, and then so you try to reverse engineer that. Okay, if this was not effective on second and medium, but it was effective on third and short, why is that? Why did that happen? So it's been a very interesting way to look at it for me.
Nice. So I guess one more question I have for you before we move into like superlatives would be, with all the time and effort you've put into like teaching yourself about all of this stuff, would you ever try to like get a job doing this, like as your gig, or does it kind of feel like, no, this is for fun? I'm not going to like ruin it with that. Like, what do you think?
I've tried. I have tried in the past, and it hasn't worked. And at times, I was very disappointed by that. And now I'm fine with it. I've talked to people who do this for a living, who are in the industry. I mean, people who have made a name for themselves and have done very good things and are very big people doing awesome things. And I've talked to them before about like, is this something, because I'm 42, I'm almost 43, I've got 2 kids. So part of me always worries not less about the level of the sport, and some of it is just, you see the layout, you see like venture capitalists buying up, a lot of these sites that like pay a living wage to writers. And like, is that something that me personally that I would feel comfortable with in my stage in life? Is it like as a 25-year-old, like I'd be all in on that, but
yeah,
like as a 42-year-old with 2 kids and a mortgage, like, is that something I'm interested in? So that's part of it. And the other part has been, if there's something I love, do I want to do that for a job? Because then do you lose some of your passion? And the people I've talked to for the most part have all said like, listen, I still love it. It's different. The way you view this stuff is different. But I still love I know people who have done it, who have just given up their teams. Like I'm not cheering for a team anymore. I'm just going to do this. And they say that works out for them. And for the most part, then they still enjoy watching it, but they say it changes stuff. And so it is something, I've pursued in the past, even as recently as like 2 years ago. But like, it has not worked out. And at this point, I was getting so frustrated where I was like, I feel like I should be able to do this. So then I get down on myself, because why can't I do this? Why can't I get this job? And then I just realized, well, I don't know if I want to do this. And if I'm enjoying this as a hobby and I have a good job and I'm happy with where I am, like I'm fine doing this as a hobby. If this is just my hobby and I do it late at night, I'm fine with that. If something bigger that comes along, I will have to seriously think about it, but I stopped actively pursuing stuff just because it made me sad and made me question myself. I didn't
get that, man. Totally. Well, I mean, I think it's a really healthy mindset to have about it at this point, having found that peace with it. But I would add, like as a guy who's applied to plenty of jobs, like, like it's almost magic when you actually land a gig. Like, you might be the best candidate, but if something weird happens in the process, or somebody knows somebody else, like, so I'm gonna say, man, it's not you, Dusty, it's them.
Yep.
Society is the problem.
That's right. Down with the patriarchy. I'm gonna smash it right after we get done here.
That's right.
Well, Katie, do you have any questions for Dusty before we get into superlatives?
I do. If you were an offensive coordinator, would you prefer to be on the field or up above in the box?
I prefer to be separated from people as much as possible. So, I mean, like, so for me, I think the more I learn about like, the role of a coordinator, I think it makes the most sense to be on the field in terms of because it's not just calling plays. You think of like, the floor calls the plays. And so offensive coordinator, what is the offensive coordinator? I mean, he gets people ready. Like we know what plays are coming. And so you have to get the guys around for the packages. You get them in whatever it's called, the launch pad, the launch area, whatever each individual team calls it. Your court, like that down to down seems super, super stressful. But like, so a part of that is like, I don't want to do that. I want someone else to do that. I want to do the fun stuff. And you can see the game. I honest to God, I have no idea how people call plays, how you do any of that stuff from down on the field. I don't. We said
I should have said play caller, not offense.
I would love.
That's what I mean.
Booth. I think Booth makes a ton of sense because the first Packers game I ever went to, we were 4 rows back at the 50. My brother bought us tickets. It was awesome. You can't see a whole lot, and if you're lower than that, like the vantage point you are as a coach and trying to figure out what works, what didn't. I know you get the tablet you're looking at. I just don't know how you do that in a game. Like up in the booth, up in the tower, being able to see all the pieces. Even if you just get back like 10 rows, the clarity you can see the game with is so much better. So for me, it's booth all the way, just so then I don't have players yelling at me and I can see the game better. It's a win-win.
That's such a good point about being able to see it better from up higher. When the Packers played the Bengals here in town about a year and a half ago, I had like very, very much nosebleed tickets. Like I was literally 1 row away from the very, very last row. So up in the, like, Jordan Love's mom kind of section, but it was so cool to because you could see things really, really clearly about how, the plays were developing and where things were happening in a way that I was like, man, I gotta find a way to see this angle of the game much more often. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Even I think Steve will joke about this. I went to a Bears game with him, and like within 2 or 3 snaps, I was like, that was Trubisky was starting at the time. And I was like, just look at the Packers safeties. Like they don't care about him at all. The safeties were 8 yards off the line of scrimmage from like the second snap of the game. And that's something like from the vantage point of on the field, I don't know how you gauge depth. I don't even know how you see that. Like I know they've had way more reps than that. I'm sure they are very good at that. But I don't even know, like I would complain about the Bears all 22 tape for a very long time, up until like 2 years ago. It was basically from the stands. And so like you're looking at the all 22 stuff, but it was like someone's head is in the way. It was just the angle it was at. Like I can't see the depth of the safeties. I can't see what's going on. So yeah, I love that eagle eye vantage point. Man, I've gotten way too used to it, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, of course, superlatives, big part of this show here. So talking about some of the best stuff we read, saw, or heard this week. So Dusty, I saw in the show document you had a couple in there, and Katie, did you have any for this week for us?
I got a couple.
All right.
I was looking through and I was like, oh, I got a good one. And I'm like, nope, one of the other guys already has it. So.
Well, Katie, do you want to give us one first then?
Well, I'll start with the Memorial Day party and the Instagram, the Packers players' Instagrams between AJ Dillon was one of them, Simone Biles was one of them. Jordan Love had a bunch of cool pictures. It was just so fun to see the team vibing and partying together and being young and just being young kids and just having fun. And it was so great.
It made me so happy. It just,
yeah.
I mentioned it earlier, like the Christian Watson racing Simone Biles is maybe my favorite thing I've seen all year. That
girl didn't stand a chance. He's literally twice her size. Like, I don't care how athletic you are not going to beat.
Yeah.
He stumbled all the blocks and still beat her by like 15 feet.
Yeah.
He's literally twice her size. His legs are probably at her head. Yeah.
I love I think it was me and Steve had talked about, I think it was after we stopped recording this past Wednesday, was the picture of Christian Watson asleep in the hammock and AJ Dillon and Jordan Love. He was like, Christian Watson looked like the most comfortable man I've ever seen in my life. It was such an awesome picture. I loved it.
That's the kind of energy I want for our team. That kind of just like they're hanging out, they're having a good time, they're enjoying each other's company. Like, that's so good.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was fun to watch.
Nice. All right, let's go around the horn here. So, Dusty, what's one of the ones that you brought for us?
Yeah, I actually have 3. I don't write my third one down. I'm sorry, Matt. But I'll just kick off with I've got one word in the doc, Matt. It's just Grossi. It's today. Today kicks off Tom Grossi's 30 stadiums in 30 days. I think he kicked it off in Green Bay. Some pictures are coming out. I know he did some in advance. So he's got one. I think a Minnesota picture has been floating around. He's going to be in Chicago, I think, before too long. But that dude. he joked. I think he joked last week on Twitter. He said something to the effect of like, "I feel like this is my funeral," because Tyler Herrick put out something like in praise of Tom Grossi, and everyone chimed in. But he really is, on top of being just remarkably funny and as successful as he is, able to quit his job and do the YouTube thing full time, and what he's built there is just incredible. Just a genuinely good person, to the point where like, I'm waiting at some point for some deep dark secret to pop up from his past, because like people aren't this good, but he's like, Tom legitimately is just such a good. I mean, he's doing this. He's doing 30 stadiums, 30 days. He's trying to raise money for St. Jude, which I've not seen what the total is up to. I know he's absolutely crushing it right now, but just the fact that he's doing that. No, he wants no praise in this. He wants nothing. He's trying to raise awareness. He's trying to raise money. And if you've ever a chance, I've never met him in person. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to be up in Cincinnati, to meet him whenever. I think, is that June 11th, Matt?
Sunday.
Right?
Yep. Okay. June 11th. It's going to be a weekend, which is helpful.
I want to see if I can make it that I want to see. I've talked to him on a number of occasions, like just a legitimately good and wonderful and lovely human being who gives, if someone else mentioned this as well, if you ever see someone on Packers Twitter that has a GoFundMe for some health thing or something, Tom is always donating. Tom is always one of the highest donators, and he never asks for anything in return. So I love what he's doing. I love him in general, and I'm so happy for him, and I'm very, very excited about this project he's doing. Yeah,
I mean, this project it's so ambitious, and the fact that he has the buy-in from the NFL and has it all kind of mapped out, and it's all like, it's not just like for attention for him. It's not for like to line his pockets for charity. Like,
it's awesome. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah.
I think I saw 80,000 in 3 days. Because whatever it is, he hit the Bills because he was gonna he told the Bills to get their tables ready. So I feel like that was the 75,000 mark. It's.
Well, I know it was 25, and he wore a Vikings jersey. And like that picture was going on already, and this is day one. So it's like, I know he's got to be crushing it. It's insane.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's a good dude.
He really is.
I knew him when he had 50,000 subscribers.
I think I knew he used to do a Reddit thing where it was just like, it was him and his dog. It was the lucky picture. He would post every Sunday of game day, and it was him and a picture of his puppy in a Packers jersey.
Oh my god!
So I knew Tom it was Reddit days of Tom and his good luck puppy, which I always
love that.
Nice. Well, my first superlative, we already talked into the ground. It was Matt Schneidman's article, which was written for The Athletic, and it was called "Aaron Rodgers, the Packers in the Long Succession." Just tell the truth. You wanted to move on. I feel like it needs a bro at the end of there, but just to say one more time, I really love Matt Schneidman's writing, his reporting. He's one of the few people I have alerts for on Twitter. So every time he posts, a message comes on my home screen, and that's between him and Bill Huber and Andy Herman. That's how I kind of keep track of the minute to minute stuff for the Packers, because they're all phenomenal. But yeah, just in praise of Matt Schneidman, his writing is always really good. He's excellent at just presenting the facts. This article about Aaron Rodgers could have quickly delved into snarkiness here and there, and there's really easy spots to take a shot at him. He didn't. Just this is the conversation we had. Here's what he said. Draw your own conclusions, basically. So just a great reporter, great writer, and I'm glad that he for all the conversations inspired, all the thoughts that we put into it, I'm glad that he wrote that. That's a great article.
Yeah.
All right, Katie, do you have another one?
Yeah, so my next one is, I am a press conference watcher. I watch all the press conferences and all the player pressers and their scrums. And if you don't watch those, you're missing out on a lot, because Bakhtiari had a 12-minute scrum, and he was his normal hilarious self, and I just love him. You got to learn more about Dobbs this week. He also had a really good scrum, and there were just a couple really, really good ones out there this week that, if you're not watching those, I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. I mean, a thing that I had referenced before, that I had lived in New Haven when my wife was getting her degree at Yale. And one of the things that, she talked about a lot in that process was the importance of primary sources, going to what is the original source material people are writing about or talking about or whatever. And that's primary sources. You get to see what is it the players are saying, not filtered through, whatever biases a reporter might bring to it, whatever. I love those things so much. I eat those up.
Yeah, same. And you get to see the context in which they're saying it, not just the headline.
Yeah.
I think that's
You
important.
can read a quote and then you can hear them like, oh, they're clearly joking. I can,
Yeah.
when I see them, they are clearly joking.
Yes, 1,000%.
It's like if you were to spend the summer trying to learn how to play a Charlie Parker solo and you had just the music in front of you, right? But you never listened to it. You're not going to get it right. You need to hear what it actually sounded like, to hear the tone, the inflection, and you get the meaning much better if you actually hear the people say it instead of reading the quote on the page. Absolutely.
Yep.
Are you trying to you doing some bird solos? You working on
There was
some
a
bird
summer
stuff in the off season?
There was a summer that I was working
Okay.
on a couple of things from the Omni book because I had a very ambitious tenor sax player in the band that I was teaching at that point who said, my friend told me that Charlie Parker is awesome. I'm like, yes, he is. Let's do this, man. So he learned the ornithology solo over the summer. And I was like, I better learn it too. So when he comes back, we can like play it together. And that was a really cool experience. But yeah, because it started off just like trying to like read through, and it's like I need to hear what birds doing with this, man. And it was an amazingly instructive experience. Learned a lot trying to do that kind of thing. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's good times. All right, Dusty, how about your second one? What do you got?
I've got, you mentioned the football GM. I'm not listening to that this week, but I did listen to, I rarely miss an episode of Athletic Football Show. And so this week I really, really enjoyed, it's Robert and Nate, and they do such a great job. And this week they had Mina Kimes on, who I love her so much. She's so good. And the three of them together, Robert and Nate Tice, have such a great kind of natural chemistry. They added Mina into the mix, and it's three friends talking at a bar. It's such an easy chemistry between them. I love hearing them talk. And then also, ears always, I love all the stuff they talk about. Ears always perk up when they talk about the Packers. Both Mina and Nate, big fans of Christian Watson this next year, and big fans of the Musgrave and Kraft picks. Like, very excited about them. I think Mina had mentioned is like this underrated good receiving group for the Packers. Like, I try to filter out my biases as much as possible when I'm looking at this stuff. So it's always nice to hear someone from the outside being like, hey man, they're looking pretty good. Like, okay, I'm not crazy. All right. This is pretty good. So yeah, that podcast is always great, but especially adding Mina to the mix this week was just a fantastic, I think it was, what was the name of it? It was the NFL roster reset. They're kind of like, all right, like dust is kind of settled. Where is everyone kind of taking stock of everything, what felt good, what felt bad, what was, they had a whole bunch of different categories for it, but it was a very fun show. And yeah, I love the three of them so much. So to hear them together was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many places you can go to get like the national perspective on the league and what's happening instead of just the amazing Packers content that we have, in abundance as fans. And I mean, I love that show so much, and I feel like that's the place to go if you want to hear more about what's happening league wide between the Athletic Football Show with Nate Tice and Robert Mays. Robert Mays and Nate Tice, that was weird. And between that and then also Mina Kimes, her show with her dog that she does, the Mina Kimes show featuring Lenny. I don't need any other shows nationally beyond those. Like, I really don't. Like, I'll check some things out from time to time, throw some whatever Rich Eisen or whatever in the mix, and it's like the other stuff, it's good or whatever, but like, that's the stuff, man. Yeah, so yeah, I'm
usually good with those. I'm good with those two. I'm also, that's fine with me.
Totally. And so when I saw that Mina was on the show this week, like I was so happy, and yeah, it lived up to it. It was like a great episode. I loved like you said, because they're talking about like what I think the question is like, what is a group, a positional group that you're like hire on the most people. And so when Mina started into that, and then the Nate Tice was like, oh yes, me too. I am the consensus with you on this. Like, that made me really happy. It was a really great moment. Very cool. Yeah, those guys are amazing. So my second one that I have then is this one is just a really great podcast that Andy Herman and Perry Goldstein and Alex Striff did this week. They were talking about like a draft of their top 30 Packers players. And so just going through trying to rank where you would want to draft them. And it really got me thinking about like, how do the players stack up against each other? What are some strengths and weaknesses of them? Just kind of getting into it a little bit more and comparing the Packers players against each other, even like across positions and stuff. So that was an interesting thought exercise, but beyond that, like the chemistry of the three of those, podcasters together was a lot of fun. It was a very fun episode to listen to. Like they're having a lot of, there's a lot of joy they were bringing to it. That was, really made it a lot of fun. And hey, Dawn's in the comments now. Dawn, I was hoping we'd see a show up. So hey, Dawn, hope your recovery is going well. So yeah, that was really fun. Did either of you catch that episode of Pack a Day?
I haven't yet, actually. No, I usually listen. I mean, I try to listen as many as I can, be supportive and all that, but also because they're very good. The ones with Andy, Perry, and Alex, they bring some heat. I like the three of them together a lot.
It's a good group. All right. So, Katie, do you have a third one for us?
I do not tonight.
Totally fine. Totally fine. And Dusty, you said you have a third one
guilty. I got another guilty verdict, Matt. That's all that matters.
There you go. That's important stuff. Oh my goodness. I love that. Kid, you want to talk about it real fast or?
No.
All right, that's fine. Totally fine. Got a lot of that last week on the episode. So,
yes.
All right. So, Dusty, you mentioned you had a third one that didn't go in the show doc. So, what was that?
I do. I talk to people every week on podcasts, on shows I do, but I rarely get to talk about them. So I will just talk about my 4 co-hosts, just Sarah Kelleher and Steve Perhatch on the Wednesday Pack a Day, and Monty Moore and Aaron Ellis for Watching Stuff. I mean, I love so much just being able to talk to all of those people. It's Monty and Aaron every 2 weeks, and then Steve and Sarah theoretically every week. Again, we've been leapfrogging each other, but I've known Steve. So when we started Pack a Day, I was one of the first people on, and I said, I'm going to do this solo. I'm going to do a solo show because I don't want to have to kind of schedule around other people. I did one, and then it was like, hey, here's someone else you can pair with. So I guess that meant it didn't go well. And he was like, hey, this Steve guy might be all right. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. He looks dumb, but I guess I'll pair up with him. So I've known Steve for about as long as I've been doing that, which I think is about 3 or 4 years now. And then Sarah joined about a year later or something. And just to be able to talk to them, I mean, we record for roughly an hour every week, which feels too long sometimes. But we always talk for half an hour before and a half hour or an hour afterwards, and just to have those people in my life that I'm able to talk to on a weekly basis is amazing. And then I've known Aaron for forever. I didn't know Monty that well. And then we started chatting. We did a couple Zoom calls of a handful of Packers people. So we were like, we're not going to record. We're just going to kind of talk, and we were going to make it a bigger thing. And then I did not do it because I'm like, I'm too busy. I cannot do this. But I met Monty through there, and I was like, oh, he actually knows what he's talking about. This is cool. So being able to talk to them every 2 weeks, again, just it's one of those things. I do not care if anyone listens to those things. It shocks me that people listen to those things. The fact that I'm able to just kind of hang out and talk to people who have become very, very dear friends, just only through this platform, essentially. I mean, Monty and Aaron, I've never met in person. I've met both Steve and Sarah on separate occasions in person. But just very lucky to have those people in my life to be able to talk to people like that every single week. And look forward to that every single week. It's been a huge blessing, and I'm very thankful to have them in my life, and they're all awesome. So I just want to give them a shout out, just a general shout out, because they're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, to use your word, Dusty, they're all tremendous. They're just amazing people, fantastic, podcasters, and. You said you haven't met Aaron in person. One chance you could have is Aaron's talking about coming to the preseason game with the Packers in town for the Bengals.
I'm looking at it.
Could happen, man. Cheap tickets, because it's preseason. My
wife is a nurse. She had to put on her schedule 6 weeks in advance, and she had it overlapping. I was like, keep that day open. Just don't schedule yourself on that day, just in case. So we're gonna see, dude. We're gonna see.
Nice. Very cool. But your co-hosts on both those shows are fantastic, and Watching Stuff I really enjoy because through the week I'm listening to football shows, like just a stream of them while I'm driving, while I'm making dinner, while I'm doing dishes. Just anytime I can put my earbuds in and listen and keep going through the grinding through the podcast. So to have something where there are 3 people who I really enjoy the work that they do and their senses of humor, talking about something else that I like, because I love the Marvel movies. That's so much fun. I really like that you guys do that. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, we had a group chat that was just the 3 of us, because Aaron was like, I've got questions about basically nerd comic book stuff that they don't cover in the movies. So it's just me, her, and Monty in a group chat. And then she was like, well, should we do a podcast? Like, all right, okay. Yeah, I guess we could probably do that. So yeah, that one is very much if people listen to that, that's cool. But being able to talk about nerd comic book stuff for an hour every couple of weeks is incredible. I love it.
Very cool. All right, man. Well, I've got one more superlative to kind of wrap things up here. And this was an article that Sam Holman wrote. For those who don't know, Sam Holman is a brilliant defensive mind, understanding how defensive scheme and stuff works in football in ways that just every time really impressed me. And he's just such a good writer at making this fairly complicated stuff really easy to read and understand and digest. So hats off to Sam for that. But the specific article that he wrote for Wisconsin Sports Heroics was building a better penny. So he's talking about the penny defense, which I feel like I could try to talk about, but I'm going to sound stupid. So I'm just going to say basically it's a different alignment, and there's one linebacker and the other one shift back or something, whatever. So the thing that Sam wrote about was like how it failed last year when they tried to use it, and how he is sort of like understanding the personnel moves, who they're bringing, specifically who they drafted, how that could be potentially to address making the penny defense better and finding ways to like make that more effective, and in fact make that be part of a more fluid, well, maybe like total football kind of defensive approach and scheme and philosophy. And just the way how Sam talks through that stuff, and the way how he like provides the sort of rationale justification for his ideas about how it could be looking going forward, man, it's like he's just putting on a clinic. I just love it.
Yeah, no, he's I mean, I've raved about him at every opportunity. He is so good, and I've learned so much from him. Like you said, the way he thinks about football and the way he talks about football, it's a very interesting perspective, and he presents it in a way that is very easy to understand. I've learned a ton from him. He's incredible. I've not read that piece yet. I've got that bookmarked. I might have to do that right after we get done here. But he's never done something that I've been like, oh, that wasn't very good. I've learned something every single time he does something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, we're fresh out of superlatives, and so Katie, do you have any questions or thoughts or anything you want to get out before we sign off here?
No, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're able to join me. This has been great. Really happy you could fill in for Dawn, who is recovering, is in the comments. And Dusty, any final thoughts or anything you want to tell us about that you're working on, anything like that?
No, I really got that call sheet series going. So fourth and short next week, I think. And then I've got the next thing in the fact or fiction thing I'm working on is what was it? Are the Packers better at running out of shotgun? Because that's one of the things I hear a lot is they should line up under center and run more. And I've not done with everything yet, but from every single number I've looked at, they're more effective at a shotgun. That includes AJ Dillon running out of shotgun is more effective from a yards per carry stuff. So I'm trying to slice that a bunch of different ways. So maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks, that'll be out. But that's been another one of those things. I come in with a preconceived notion of it. I'm seeing what the numbers tell me. So I'm excited about that one. But I mean, yeah, just thank you guys so much for having me. Matt, good to talk to you again. Katie, good to talk to you as well. This has been amazing. Sorry for monopolizing a lot of this with my chatter, but I thoroughly appreciate you guys having me on. This has been awesome.
Yeah, I thoroughly appreciate you chattering, quite frankly, because the kinds of questions that I was asking are things that like I wanted that kind of response for, man. So no, thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining us tonight, Dusty. Appreciate your time and all the stuff you do for all the Packers fans to become better, smarter Packers fans. And thanks, man.
Thank you.
So I'm going to bring it home here, friends. Of course, you'll find links in our show description for everyone we mentioned, so please check it out. Also, we'd love to have a chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family. Katie, do you have the next part pulled up, or should I keep going myself?
Keep going.
I got it. All right. So this is the part where Dawn usually says. She says, yes, Maddie, that's right. We love you. We're so glad to know you, be fans of you, and have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, subscriptions, and sharing our pod, and look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
And I didn't have the outro ready to go. Oh, this is why Dawn is such a pro. She has it always ready. And
football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.